So I'm just going to give an overview of the research that we're doing. So Matt mentioned we do have a biosecurity steering group, and that part of that steering group is to look at our key pests and diseases. And BMSB has been a major focus over the past few years. So just to remind you, this is what it looks like, the various life stages. You've got your eggs, you've got your instars, and you've got your adults. Now the adults are around about 2 centimetres, maybe slightly smaller, but they're big. They're big bugs, you won't miss them. And just to remind you of what it does to kiwi fruit. So it feeds on the fruit, you get the piercing marks, and then you get this corking underneath the surface here. You may see a few marks on the outside, but generally it's what's inside the fruit that's the problem. And Matt just mentioned it, but 20 to 30% fruit loss is about the average that we're seeing in Italy. Apparently this year was worse. So R&D so far, we've been doing some research in Italy. I'll actually just say we spent over $1 million researching this pest over the past few years for the Biosecurity Steering Group, so quite a significant investments going into this. What we found, there's actually no difference in preference between Hayward and Gould 3. They like them equally the same. They're on the orchards all season long after overwintering, and they appear on both orchards around about the same time. So there's actually no preference. The biggest difference is, though, Gould 3 is suffering from major fruit drop, which we don't see in Hayward. The symptoms on Gould 3 seem to be more obvious than on Hayward. Netting's been mentioned. This is useful. However, timing of the netting is playing a critical role. So what they've been finding in Italy is when they leave the slides open because they want to go in and pollinate and do all the work they want to do in spring, the bugs have already come out of overwintering and they've got on the orchard. You drop the nets down, you've just trapped them in. So getting the netting down is essential. The timing is essential. We've looked at trap crops, so the idea was, could we lure them away from kiwi fruit orchards? Didn't really work, so that's not going to be highly effective. And we are identifying some potential predators and parasitoids over there in Italy. Not the samurai wasp, it's officially not there, although it is there a little bit. But they are looking at others that could be potential predator parasitoids that could be reared up. So they're pulling in adults and they're looking to see what they're, or the eggs as well. So China, it's native home range, so there's a lot of work we can do in kiwi fruit orchards in China as well. Again, what we found, it's on the orchards all season long. No difference to Italy, it's going to be there all round. What we're looking at over there, though, are overwintering trap boxes. So at the end of summer, when it starts to get a bit cold, they want to find a nice warm place to spend the winter before they come out again spring next year. And trap boxes are a nice little cozy home for them. So we're just tweaking around the design here to try and improve it, but you can do what you like with those trap boxes at the end. You can set them on fire, you could burn them, just whatever you want to do with them, just to get rid of them. Something to note is unused beehives are quite a nice overwintering home, so any beekeepers out there, just be aware of that. So what's to come? So we've been spending over $1 million, but we've still got a lot to go in this one. So we're planning to set up an on-orchard control program in Italy. Won't be relying on chemicals, probably netting and a few other things. Looking at improving the overwintering traps in China, like I just mentioned, show you the photos. We're also looking to see how many of the samurai wasp are needed on a kiwi fruit orchard to control a population of BMSB. So we're trying to just tweak that around and get a good idea of what we would need ourselves. The timing and the type of damage that occurs on orchard as well has also been investigated in Italy. And this is feeding into number 5, which is looking at non-destructive assessment post-harvest of the damage. And like I said, Gould 3 will probably just drop off, so it's out to the supply chain. The problem with Hayward is certainly for low to medium damage, you can't see it until you cut the fruit open. Now, obviously, you don't want to be doing that through post-harvest because you've just lost the fruit. So trying to find a way to assess it without damaging it is quite important. We've just approved a project to set up a trapping network in New Zealand in this area. Now, we may not get any BMSB, but that's a good thing. But what we're also hoping to learn is that any other bugs that get attracted to these lures, we can start to look at the predators or parasitoids that come with them. We can compare them with what's going on in Italy, and we'll start to get an idea of what else we could be using as a biological control agent in New Zealand. And we've also supported a PhD student who's looking at sterile insect technique. Now, this is quite an exciting method. What you do is you basically just sterilize the insects so they can't reproduce properly, they can't produce offspring. But that's looking at both BMSB and the samurai wasp. So the reason behind the samurai wasp is, even though it's quite specific for BMSB, there is a risk of our native bugs being parasitized by it. So if we can kind of keep that population down, use it as a release method to control BMSB, but then just wipe them out by making them sterile, we've got a good control option. So just a few other considerations that have come out of the research that's been going on around the world. Cryptomeria is a host plant. Now, we know quite a lot of our growers have cryptomeria, but we don't understand whether this is going to be a good thing or a bad thing. So don't go off and cut down your cryptomeria, because we just don't know yet. It could be that it keeps the BMSB away from the orchard if it's a preferred host, but then we don't know if, on the flip side of that, whether it would be a reservoir. So that's a watching brief for us, I'm afraid. There are observations, and these are observations. It's not been proved by research, but orchards near water are more badly affected. Just bear that in mind. These ghost nets, as Matt mentioned, are proving to be very useful. And there is just internationally continual improvements around the pheromone lures and the traps. And we can just keep tapping into this research that's going on, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of research going on. We're staying connected. Matt showed how connected we were, and we'll just keep maintaining that momentum going forward. But what do you do if you spot one? Do you remember? Catch it, put it in a container, take a photograph, don't kill it, don't squash it, it could be a native, and then you call MPI on their 0800 number, or you can call KVH on their 0800 number as well. Thank you.